one of them and was told how they did it, and it's completely unofficial, and they admitted they did it just to be able to sell fake chelates and make money. Literally, they told me that on the phone. Crazy. Hi, I'm Dr. Mona Morstein. Welcome to my channel. If you'd like to subscribe, please click on the button below. So today I'm just going to talk about the nutrition of minerals. So minerals are super important, but there are some myths out there. There's also different kinds of minerals, and I'm not really sure patients know how to put it all together. So let's just go over minerals today and talk about all of the important aspects of them. So minerals are essential nutrients for the human body. Macronutrients that we need at more than 100 milligrams a day, and that's calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, sodium, copper, potassium, and sulfur. And then there's the micro minerals where we need 15 milligrams or less of those minerals. And that's iron, chromium, vanadium, selenium, molybdenum, boron, biotin, iodine, zinc, fluoride, manganese, cobalt, and silicon. So total around 18 minerals that we need. So one of the fallacies is that we need a lot, like all of these other trace minerals out there. We need 70, 72, whatever, 75, 78, 80 of all of these minerals. And you don't. If you track those down, the ingredients, as I have, and snapshotted them on the internet, I think it's hard to do that now, but these products can contain lead, antimony, cadmium, gadolinium, right? We all know now that's the contrast material that can be stored in your brain and be very hard to get out of your body. Barium, things like bromine, fluoride. There are some people that think, I don't know, we should eat a teaspoon of dirt every day and get everything in that the world needs, but we don't. We don't need lead. We shouldn't get a lot cadmium in. We don't need all of these excess trace minerals in our body. And so I really don't want my patients to get those. That's my opinion. But when I know the ingredients in them and patients read them, they're like, oh my God, I don't want to take them. I don't want to give them to my children. Regular minerals, everybody should be getting those in every day, right? Now, minerals come attached to something. That's called a substrate. So there are different kinds of mineral substrates. One of them, you may have heard, is chelated, right? Now, when a mineral is officially chelated, it's completely surrounded by the substrate. And the substrate is small, stable, neutral. It's very easy to get sucked through the lining of the intestine, and then that mineral gets that, free ride. So it's our most absorbable form of minerals, right? These are generally called the bisglycinates, the glycyglutamines, or just regular glycinate. These are substrates that are really the most associated with being fully chelated, right? Now, if you see a company that has tracks from a company called Albion, I make no money from Albion, but Albion is one of the premier mineral chelators in the country. And unfortunately, there are many other companies making chelated that are just bogus chelators. And I know this because I've called up one of them and was told how they did it, and it's completely unofficial, and they admitted they did it just to be able to sell fake chelates and make money. Literally, they told me that on the phone. Crazy. So Albion is really the official, chelating company. Now, there are 3 minerals that cannot be scientifically chelated. and that's potassium, selenium, and boron. This is directly from Albion. We can't chelate those. So when you find a product that says chelated potassium, you're like, I've covered up the company name. But this is the problem that many of you face out there, is there is no chelated potassium. It's chemically impossible to chelate potassium. So this is why it's great to have a friendly neighborhood naturopathic physician who has a BS in foods and nutrition. And I taught nutrition for 11 years at a naturopathic medical school. So I have my patients, before they buy a supplement, they throw it at me and say, hey, does this make sense? Is this okay? And I'll say yes, or I'll say, uh-oh, no, it's not, and give them an alternative. But chelated is a very absorbable form as long as it's a real supplement and a real chelated product. The second most absorbable one is what we call the bound complexes. And the bound complexes are these substrates are bound to the mineral, but they're not a complete ring around it, not quite as stable, but pretty still well absorbed. And these are the citrates, the malates, the aspartates, picolinates, fumarates, the ascorbates. These are all bound complexes, and they're going to get in pretty well. Sometimes the citrate, like magnesium citrate, is going to be absorbed fine at a lower amount, but if you give too much, obviously it's a great laxative, right? So we're just talking about normal amounts. They're going to be well absorbed, right? And they're probably potentially a little cheaper than the chelated ones, but if you get either of those, it's a good way to get your minerals. Another is just when they write proteinate, whatever that is, or if they write amino acid chelate, zinc. Well, zinc can be chelated, but what does that mean? It doesn't say zinc bisglycinate, just amino acid chelate. So that could be either a valid chelate or not. It could just be a really bad chelate from one of the more unscrupulous companies. So we don't know unless we call the company up, the supplement company, and say, hey, where are you getting your chelated minerals from, right? So we can understand which kind of company is making it. Now, the last way to make a mineral complex is with the salts. Now, the salts, they're just really badly absorbed, and only cheap companies just throw in these cheap substrates. These are the oxides, the hydroxide, the gluconate. Now, carbonate, kind of, if you have really good hydrochloric acid, you can absorb the carbonates. But as we get older, not everybody does have good hydrochloric acid. And if you don't have good hydrochloric acid, or you're not taking with hydrochloric acid, then that substrate will not be well absorbed. The other ones, phosphates, chlorides, these are just not the ideal form. They're very poorly absorbed. We use magnesium oxide for a laxative. Magnesium hydroxide is milk of magnesia. Like, they're just designed to be laxatives because they're so poorly absorbed. Products that have these in them, we just kind of want to not use. This is cheap, poorly absorbed minerals, kind of deal breakers in the grand scheme of things. I mean, what do minerals do? What does calcium do? Well, at 98% of our bones, right? It's calcium, right? Magnesium has over 200 enzymes it potentiates from neurotransmitters to the liver all throughout the body, right? Potassium, right? We need that for so many different aspects. Sulfur, hair, skin, and nails. Selenium, antioxidant, thyroid regulation. Zinc, immune system, skin. These minerals play out all throughout our body. So we just got to make sure we get them in the right way. We don't want a lot of toxic trace minerals in with them, and we want to make sure they're with good substrates, the either chelated or bound complex substrates that will have it be well absorbed, be used in your body, and give you the health support that we all need nowadays. So that was my little talk on minerals and their substrates. I hope it was helpful. Thank you very much.